Welcome everyone to my new stage and my podcast, Witness, where I'll be sharing with you stories of human encounters, soul family reunions, life's touch, the story of our collective journey, walking each other back home. Today I have with me Yannick, Buttenberg, a star brother, earth guardian, and fellow human, exploring this beautiful planet Earth. Welcome, Yannick. How are you today?
Thank you, Mariya. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. And I'm feeling great. I'm feeling really fantastic. The energies have been so powerful lately. I'm sure you've been able to feel that too, at least for me. I feel I have been receiving so many upgrades, and I feel like so much of my own multidimensionality is coming back online in a much stronger way, even than before. So I'm excited for this conversation today.
Definitely in the last few days with the full moon and the Lionsgate portal coming off, frequencies are definitely high. And this conversation, as we were discussing prior to the recording, will be high frequency as well, it feels like. So to our listeners, an invitation to listen not just with your ears, but with your eyes, with your body, with your heart, with your whole being.
Yeah, this is something I always love to say to people, that there's a much deeper transmission that goes beyond the mind, which I know ties us into something that we're going to talk about later, and it's about light language. And it's just that transmission of these higher codes of light that we embody and emanate through our unique journey of embodiment and the codes that we carry from a soul level. And yeah, so I'm really excited to explore that. And I love that you bring that awareness to our listeners, that there's so much information that they will receive from your higher self and from a higher level, because it holds that resonance. And not all of it is to be understood through the mind. And we try our best to bring it down in the 3D, right? As that bridges between dimensions.
Beautifully said. Before we dive into the more esoteric part of the light languages, can you start with sharing a little bit more about yourself? Who is Yannick? Who are you?
Yes. So my name is Yannick, and I grew up in Germany, and my mom is Portuguese. And the path I really resonate in life with is the path of an alchemist, because life really brought me a lot of experiences where I had to transmute and alchemize so much of my own suffering and pain and darkness, and to bring it back to the light. And this is something that has always been fascinating to me. You know, I have just a deep love and passion for transformation. Maybe other people get really uncomfortable in it, but actually, I really enjoy the process. So I have a deep love, and I think it's so incredible, the capacity and the resilience that we have as human beings, how adaptable we are to change, right? And that perception just in my own life, and for the planet, and how everything is always changing, and really change is that only constant. And I stand for truth and freedom. This is really my two principles I most live by. And that's what I wish to bring more into this world, so we can remember that truth and freedom, which then connects us again to, our own divinity and our own source and the source of all and the unity that we share with each other. And so I do help others on their journey of transformation. I'm a mentor, a spiritual guide, and as well I do facilitate and have a multidisciplinary approach to different healing modalities and quantum energy healing. And I just love supporting people on their own journey, finding their light again. So together we can create heaven on earth.
When did you awaken to your gifts?
Well, it was a gradual journey for me. For me, my big awakening was 6 years ago. And it was more my own pain that was awakening me. And especially the relationship with my father, because it was like one day I had the opportunity to see myself in the mirror with all the things I didn't like about him and see how I reflected myself. And it was like, a cold bucket and 10 slaps in my face. And that was that moment where I realized, okay, I need to completely change everything about the way how I have been doing things. And there I started, looking for my own way. And, I think the place where I really started accessing more and stepping more into my dharma and accessing my gifts really was maybe more 3 years ago, that I really felt I started deeper accessing it, because the first years was really doing a lot of cleanup work of just all the things that I went through my childhood and, resolving a lot of my past life karma and things I came to sort out in this lifetime. So when I started really stepping into it, it was more like 3 years ago that really a lot of this opened, when I was in a level that I started to transcend all the own victimhood of my own story and all of that. So it has been more a gradual journey, but as I have been always very committed and devoted to this path, and since I awakened, it was very clear to me that this is the path, and I have been very consistently committed to dedicating my life to really cleaning up, to be able to step into that dharma. And I'm sharing this as well to just an inspiration to your listeners, that to really access our multidimensionality and access our gifts, cleaning up the garbage that we went through is just a major aspect. Because if not, it's like now I'm in a place where even these last times, my channel is just very clear. But that wouldn't be if I didn't have all that coherence in my system through all the cleanup work that I have been doing. And it's an aspect why I love helping people to just clean up, because essentially we all need some inner house cleaning, so we can radiate more fully and really remember our wholeness, despite our stories of everything that we went through.
I like to compare. I use this comparison with my client. I see it as a mirror, cleaning up the mirror, cleaning up the dust, so you can fully see yourself. Because with years with social conditioning, it's layers and layers and layers of dust. And we can't fully see ourselves unless we remove it. Once the dust is removed, then we can see who truly who we truly are behind the mask, the conditioning, the suffering.
Yeah, I agree so much, and I can very much relate, because there was a long part of my journey where I was not able to see myself very clearly because there were so many distortions and things that happened to me on a very deep level that yeah didn't allow me fully to see myself clearly, and it was a quite confusing journey of my life because like a part of me wanted to go upwards, right, to ascend, to really connect to that, and then I had a lot of experiences which I had to realize that through my own distortions and things that were in my energy field, I stepped into experiences which I thought were experiences of the light, but actually weren't.
Mm.
And so that's why, being able to work with people that really have a higher understanding and follow that inner calling, that like, because at least for me, there was always this calling that I knew there's more than this, than feeling like scattered and not knowing. And I always knew and remembered there's more than this. And I feel that drive is what brought me as well to finding that wholeness again. And so it's just because eventually it's a trap as well that we think, oh, it's always another layer and another layer and another layer. Eventually, there is a point where you come to a place of wholeness. And that doesn't mean I'm perfect, but it's like I'm no longer looking for healing. This was a big change for me when you really shift around and like, okay, I now remember who I am, and I do not longer look for healing. That doesn't mean that healing won't happen along your way, but the focus shifts on how you direct your energy and the place from within, how you engage with life. And that's personally for me one of these aspects that really majorly shifted the way how I started to approach life and live life from that place, and then let organically my soul and higher self show me the parts that still need resolution, but it's not longer the focus from that mentality and that connection of like looking for something that is broken and trying to repair or fix. And so yeah, just the trust and the faith in these moments when you really struggle in earlier parts of the journey is so important, and knowing that there's the other side, that there definitely is the other side, even if in moments it doesn't seem like. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you for sharing. And you mentioned in turning in, and I would love to understand and expand the importance of turning the process within. Because in the beginning, a lot of us look for the answers outside. This is how we are taught.
Mm-hmm.
We're taught to look for teachers, to look for somebody that knows better than us. And within the journey, the ones that been on the journey long enough, we all came to a point where we realize it's like it's not an outside journey. The deeper work is inside. When you turn inside, when you realize that you hold the answers, you know best. You are a whole being as you are. and your own healing is within you. And the next level you mentioned, you realize that you don't need healing because nothing is broken. It's the perception. Because I'm different, I'm broken. But every one of us is made of different parts that fit perfectly the way they are and make us unique and beautiful and worth just the way we are.
Yeah, I love that what you say, because I think, the moment when you start turning inwards for answers is really an integration point. It's a very important integration point that, it's great at times to get some help. We're not meant to figure it all out by ourselves. But exactly that what you were sharing is such a key aspect, because it's that moment when, and for me it has been a continuous journey where life just invites you into deeper trust, right? It's that deeper trust in yourself, that confidence that you have in your own channel and your own capacity to whatever it is, whatever is the thing that you want to do, if it's going out in the world and accomplishing something, or if it's sharing your knowledge, or if it's your capacity to tune into your intuition and receive the information that you're looking for, or if you and for me there have been so many opportunities that truly are the most empowering moments when there's something you maybe felt, oh, I don't know quite how to do this. For me, that was when I the first time embarked on a sort of like a past life regression. And my mentor told me it's very important for you that you do this journey on your own, that I'll not be the one guiding you. And first, like, all my resistances came up and everything like was like, oh, I don't know, and all of this, And then, remembering, okay, like, even if, maybe I don't understand everything on a mental level, I trust that I can. And so I went on this journey and started to revisit a lifetime of mine in Atlantis, which was a lifetime that has probably maybe the lifetime that has most impacted my this earth walk and this journey here on earth and this life, where there was just a lot of karma and things that I've done that weren't in coherence with were important lessons for me to really integrate, to act different in this life. And yeah, and it was one of the most empowering experiences for me, how I realized how not only successfully but with so much ease and grace I was able to manage that whole experience, right? Where I had all the coordinates. There was nobody else that could have guided me into a deeper experience than I was able to go by myself. And I'm sharing this because there's a level of empowerment that comes through when we are able to go through that kind of discomfort, right? That discomfort that comes from like being in a place where you don't 100% trust, because maybe you have never done it and it's just unfamiliar and it's unknown. And really allowing yourself, over and over in different areas of your life to step into that place of the unknown, where you don't know something, but you trust yourself enough internally that you'll be able to figure it out and that you're going to be all right. And then trust that the divine will guide you to and support you in that experience if you come from the right place in the heart, right? It's when you come from that heart mind coherence where it's not only for your personal gain, but rather for the evolution and the support of all in that coherence. And when you come from that coherence, where it's not about, feeding your lower ego self, then the support of the divine, the beings of light will always be there. It will always be there. If it's one thing I know to be true, is when you are in that right alignment and your intention is pure, the support needed will always be there. And I really cannot emphasize that enough. The support will always be there.
It's important and memorable. Beautifully explained. One thing, again, you're opening the going back to those not so coherent moments of self, to the shadows, accepting that those shadows are part of us as much as the moment of us being light, not trying to erase them, but looking to harmonize them and accept them. Witnessing ourselves in our darkest moments and still loving ourselves and still embracing ourselves and still accepting the shadows as part of our wholeness.
And, the shadow and the darkness is really the key to really embody your light. And, that's why I was sharing at the beginning that I personally, resonate with the path of an alchemist, because, I know the darkness I have went through, because I went through hell in a lot of ways. And it's not about, telling the story of the poor me, but rather like, I know looking back that this has been a lot of the things that allows me to hold space for people in a very, very profound way, where, when others go through their darkness or their transformation, I know I can hold space for this, because I'm not afraid of it. And because I know as well the pathway that brought me through it. And that's what you say, right? That alchemy, when you love and accept these parts of you, gives you the opportunity to transcend yourself and make a different choice, right? Where you see that you no longer need to choose this, but rather bring it back to wholeness, and then from a place of wholeness can choose a different way of acting, behaving, thinking, being. And this to me is just something so beautiful, because it really is that human capacity of metamorphosis, right? And that's something I wanted to share and as well ask you, because it's, that's when the mirror that you are to others becomes more clear, because it's so coherent that it's not that I haven't been this version of myself. It's not that I'm, that person that is just perfect, but it's because I've been there and revisited that and bring that into harmony, and then choose a different choice of what I consciously wish to create, where I'm no longer dictated by the past, but rather so clear in my energy, where I'm okay. This was the past. This was what it was, and I now choose different. And this leads me to a question I have for you to, when we talk about holding up a mirror, when we work with people, what are some of the ways that you feel that you can best show someone a mirror of themselves?
That's an interesting question. As a coach, some of the regular techniques that we have in our toolbox is being a soulmate. Because sometimes repeating what somebody said helps them hear themselves. When you repeat the words that they're using, you give them a different perspective of what is in the subconscious. When you reflect their body language, give them your observation, you give them a different feedback. You start to build a multi-dimensional picture of what they say, what they do, and how what they say is projected into the world. This is more on a human base. If we go into the higher dimension, it's really just watch what I do and see which one you recognize and which one you don't. It's like showing you an etheric pattern. This is your blueprint. This is how you look. Did you choose consciously to make the changes? Or the changes were done without your consent? And moving further on with the perception and the mirroring. Does that answer your question?
Yes, I love that. Thank you for sharing.
Is there anything you'd like to add from
Yeah, sure. There's one thing I'd like. Yeah, there's one thing I'd love to add, and what I feel adding is, in order to show someone a mirror, it is really important, and this is something I learned on my journey a long time ago on the healing arts and understood very early, but it has been a journey of being able to truly embody that, is to get out of your own story, because you need to be able to be, and of course in a client session that can be maybe more easy because you're not so, emotionally intertwined, but in other relationships it's really your capacity to hold space
Yeah.
and just hold space with that acceptance, with that love, with that care, and get out of your own story.
Yeah.
Because this is one of the things I see a lot, is that people usually, when they're too caught up in their own story, they, and it used to happen to myself as well, is that it will interfere. Because, like, you say something and you want to be vulnerable and you want to be open, right? Which is part of the process in order to see yourself, that you can start seeing the parts within you that maybe are not so coherent, which then through that openness allows you to connect and see the part of you that actually is your true self and who you are. And so really, that's why all that we shared before, to address our own wounds and patterns and the own cleanup work is so important, so we can get to that place where, where now I'm in a place where I feel it's relatively easy for me most of the times, not all the times. Sure, I still have some things that come up at times, but to step out of myself, out of my story, because that allows me then to be that pure presence that is just reflecting back that light and holding that space from that place of love, where I don't flip back into my story. And you can identify and see that quite easily sometimes when you talk to people. And the moment you share something, it's like, oh yeah, I know this happened to me as well, or these kind of things, which doesn't really allow a space for deeper connection and looking in your own mirror and seeing what is not true,
Yeah.
and to come to what is true. Because there's a level of safety and vulnerability that is required for that to happen. Because usually, for seeing a clearer mirror, you need to have that safety to look at the parts that are not, which is part of the journey of seeing the clearer image of who you really are. So yeah, that's what I wanted to add and share about this.
Yeah. And I like how you made the mention the separation, how it's much easier to learn with clients than in the closer relationship.
Oh yes.
Because when you're part of the relation, the same way as when the client is their own relation, they cannot see it sometimes, not because they are not able to, or they don't have the answer. It's just because sometimes an outside perspective is much more clear.
Mm-hmm.
But I love what you said for all of us that work with clients is especially important to do the extra work of making sure that we haven't addressed
Mm-hmm.
truly and deeply.
Yeah, it's that place of neutrality, right? Where you're able to operate from that place of neutrality that allows you to have very clear perception
Yeah,
on what is going on, right? Because you don't have any of your own story or emotions intertwined in the middle. But what I want to share, and it's something, that I for sure still have a good journey ahead as well. But it's very helpful to integrate that in your deeper relationships, because the truth is someone needs to hold space, and it's something that happened a lot to me, and what I see happening a lot is that suddenly both people get triggered. Let's say someone is triggered in a relationship, right? And then they come back at you, with whatever triggered, and then that triggers you. The problem then is if both people lose that place, you're just in that fight, right? You go fighting at each other because everybody wants to be right about their pain, but actually nobody's actually being acknowledged, because what essentially you're seeking for, right, when you trigger, is that someone hears and acknowledges the pain that you're going through. And in order for you to really be in that place of acknowledgement, you need to sort of step into that place of neutrality where you don't make it about yourself, even if it is about you, because essentially they're telling you something about you. And so it's a really interesting place to explore. But at least for myself, what I have perceived, is that place when you're able to get yourself out of the way and understand, okay, this now is about them. It's not because I don't have a story or I don't take part in this, but I somehow hold so much space that I make it about their experience, so their experience can feel acknowledged. And in that way, it's much easier to resolve things, because you're actually, focusing on one person and actually in a dynamic that can actually move forward instead of like going back and forth. And this is something really great to remember, because the more you apply that, the easier it is to resolve and work through certain things together, as one holds space for the other to come back to a place of neutrality as well again, from where much easier you will be able to express your aspects and be heard and seen as well in them. So yeah, that's just my perception on that, and something that I love to look to integrate to the best of my capacity in my relationships, so you can hold more space for each other, because too many times there's nobody holding space, and usually that always leads to not great things, to put it that way.
I started that introduction with description of you as a star brother and Earth guardian. Now that you've shared with us more about your more so human journey, can you share with us a little more about your remembrance of who you are beyond? You were sharing last time all the places that you remember we've met. I don't remember now. How many places we've worked together thus far?
Well, I need to tune into that information again, because sometimes I'm just channeling, and my higher self is streaming through. But when I tune in, it's 5 places that we met off planet, and 2 seem to be in a different dimension or different place in the galaxy. My human self doesn't know the names for. And then I remembered that we met in the Pleiades, and that we met in Andromeda. And it seems that we met in Sirius B. And actually, there's a really interesting memory coming alive, which I want to share, which I feel that we actually connected back then, because from what I remember is that in Sirius B, part of the blueprint of the human mind was designed on a holographic level. And I feel you were there too, together with me and with a lot of other souls, where we were, working on the blueprint of the human mind to, because from my memories, it wasn't serious that, on a holographic level, they were designing, because in a lot of different parts of the galaxies, different parts of our human operating system were designed. So they didn't really all come from the same place. But as we are hybrids, as multidimensional beings, we are hybrids. So we carry different fractals. And in the same way, different star beings and star nations have different capacities and qualities that basically design different parts of the human suit and body that we have, and the technology that it really is were designed in different parts of the galaxy and different of the original star nations that hold and held and still are holding the original blueprints for this earth and for humanity, design different aspects of the human body, which essentially was an experiment, right? There was a genetic experiment, the human race, and we are just light beings and soul that came into inhabiting this, these bodies, and these beautiful bodies that we are able to inhabit in this dimension to experience life here in the third dimension. And about my journey of remembrance, it, as with everything, it has been very gradual, and as well, I like to look at it as, so, I am from the stars, and that's why I love the term multidimensional embodiment. What I called my project is that, so I'm from Arcturus, and I started remembering my memories of from Arcturus and where I'm from originally, and I started to understand a lot more about light language, and not only light language but holographic creation. So when you start tapping into the understanding that this reality is on hologram, right, and there has been a hologram that has been placed over this earth, which we call the matrix, right, which has a lot of distorted frequency codes and a lot of distortion that wants to harvest people's energy and manipulate people. And that's where holographically there's an original blueprint which is connected to the primordial sound energy geometrical frequencies and signatures that are the original blueprint of this planet, which all of us carry as well individually. And there are so many different thoughts coming to my mind, so I just stay in this track of thought that I'm in right now, because like when you start understanding that there is a distorted frequency code, then you understand that there's a holographic blueprint that carries the original source code frequencies, which are all codes that we usually carry in our soul as we experienced and witnessed many lifetimes in many different places, and have that original blueprint from God. And that's why these codes that we carry are so potent, because they help us override and restore us to our original blueprint, because it's almost that distorted frequency code can only overlap until the original blueprint is reactivated. And the same counts for the earth multidimensionally on all its dimensional layers, as well as for us individually. And it's that journey when you start igniting your original blueprint, that really helps you to start clearing all the distortions, because essentially that original blueprint, once it's activated and shining in its light, the distortion cannot handle the frequency that this carries. And that's sort of that bridge, right? When you start to understand that you are a multidimensional fractal, that you as a human being are a fractal of the all, and you made out of these different fractals, which as well, in psychology are called like the different archetypes. So there's always a relation between your multidimensionality and who you are, and the different aspects of how this is reflected in the 3D. And why I'm sharing this, because there's a direct bridge as well, when I started, because you asked me about my journey of remembrance. When I started remembering my journey of remembrance, that started sort of with my past lives in Egypt. Egypt started really awakening me, and my trip to Egypt started just to bring up a lot of past life memories. And first I just had to do a lot of cleanup work, because there were especially one lifetime where I had a lot of power, and I took a lot of choices in that life that weren't serving the greater good of all, but rather my own personal ego. And so there was a lot of karma and things that I needed to solve and to clear. And why I'm sharing this, because there's a relationship between your gifts and your skill set and capacities. And usually the higher, or like, let's say, the more advanced kind of gifts that you have, rather it be psychic gifts or gifts to work with frequency, or more feminine frequencies of love and nurturing, and or if it like be kundalini technology, or if it's going to be gifts of alchemizing. Usually, from how I started to remember, is that these gifts, they do not come from that past life, though this past life is a doorway and a connection for you to remember those gifts, because in those lifetimes you embodied those gifts and you had full access to them. And a lot of times maybe you didn't use those gifts in full coherence and for the greater good of all, that then doesn't allow you yet to remember them in this lifetime. But truly, from what I know, is that our gifts and abilities, because one thing to understand is that gifts and abilities, you earn them, and you don't earn them through like a short moment in time. You earn them over lifetimes. And usually, there's origin points where certain of these technologies and these gifts come from. And usually they come from, other star nations or from your star origin, right? And different star origin and star tribes carry different codes and frequencies that have access to a more specific bandwidth of gifts, abilities, and skill sets that are more connected to certain star nations. And then you start seeing the correlation, because it's always from a level of the soul, who you used to be and who you are, and your good dharma and your good work that you have done, so to say, in 3D terms, that allows you to access those gifts. And this is an important bridge I want to make here, because, and for your audience to really understand, is that you cannot, so that's why the darkness needs your light, because they need to steal your gifts, because the darkness does not generate the coherence and the love and the unity to have access to these powerful gifts that God gave us. And that's why they sort of need to steal your light and take over you, or what entities do, they come and attach to you so they can steal and extract and use your abilities, because they do not have the sovereignty, the coherence to earn them by themselves. And I wanted to share that, because on a multidimensional level, all these things are interconnected. So like certain gifts and abilities on my own journey of remembrance, you start to understand where they really come from. Though the past lives are a bridge to accessing them, because sometimes, at least from my experience, they can be easier to remember and recall how it feels like to embody them in a human level, because it gives you that experience of, oh, that's the way how it feels like and how you use it in this human template. And yeah, I mean, there's much more I could share, but I just want to make a little break here to see if there's anything you want to add to what I just shared, or anything specific that you're curious about me sharing more about.
I like everything that you mentioned, and I know that some people will listen and they might not agree with what we're sharing because we use different terminologies. So I want to also take the opportunity to for this to be an invitation that although we all have different keys and different words for sometimes the same things and same places, we are all ultimately here with one goal: to get everybody back home. So it's an invitation not to pay so much attention on the specific of the words, but to trust the heart and frequency coherence. Because as our life languages are evolving from spoken to more of a silent sounds, the meaning of words is becoming less and less important.
Yeah, I absolutely love that what you share, because it's exactly that what you say about that coherence, right? That it's that frequency coherence that you emit, that it is not necessary at all to have a deeper understanding of certain of the multidimensional holographic mechanics and all these different things I was just talking about. Because at the end, it's just my unique expression of my journey, where I had the capacity to have a more clearer mental understanding and bring it down for those people that resonate, and to take specific codes and learn about specific aspects of this, as it can be helpful at moments to start getting a deeper understanding in the mind of what is happening on a higher level. But from my experiences, that the more I have been living in that place, it's so many times that I meet people that are not aware of all of this, but they come to me, right? They come to me and they're like attracted to my light. they're attracted to, or share with me, wow, I feel you emit such power, or you emit so much light, and I can feel the energy that you move. And I'm not sharing this to make it about myself. It's just that remembrance and that embodiment of my unique journey and my unique codes and frequency signature is what amplifies the transmission of who I am, because it's in alignment and coherence with my remembrance of who I am. And that then expresses itself and is a ripple effect and even all the daily interactions on a more human, on a more simple level, right? So it's like you say, like, yeah, do not get lost in the complexity of things and remember the simplicity, but as well understand that, honoring your complexity and your unique design are the keys for you to access more of who you are and bring more of who you are into this vessel, into this
And
body.
honoring the other peoples, the other selves. It's not just honoring yourself, it's honoring the other. I might not agree with you on from the conversation before we had the recording on the word starting or portal, but I honor your experience.
Mm.
And I see in the spiritual community so much division
Mm.
about, no, it's not this word, it's that word, where it's okay. I see it a little different, but let's find the middle ground
Mm-hmm.
rather than, oh, that's not right, so no. Does it make sense, Brandon?
I absolutely love that what you share, and I would love to ask you, what is something that helps you to stay in that unity consciousness? What I feel is really what you are mentioning here and bringing to the table, which is so important that, you know, as you say, I might have a different perception on things, but how can I honor your truth in a place of where we find our common unity instead of focusing on our differences, and really come into that place of celebrating our differences?
Yeah, it's really, it's for me the curiosity,
Mm.
like using, it's like a child. When you first came here and you don't have nobody told you, yes, no, 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 not, the fire is gonna burn you. Everything is just a child like curiosity.
Mm.
If I never knew that this is green, maybe in your country, you you call this yellow. I forgot how it's yellow on German, in German. I used to know.
Gelb.
Again, so it's easier to think about it for foreign multilingual people. In my language, or in my language, which is Bulgarian, it's zho. In your, it's yellow. But what if, even though we both speak English and we use the common word, we both have a different word for everything. So that's why it's coming with curiosity. Okay, what is a different word, or what is the meaning that you put into that word? Does that make sense? So be curious and be willing to listen to a different perspective to answer your question.
Yeah, I love that because, you know, it's just something that is always great to remind us on a very regular basis, that what you share, right? That innocence of a child, and as well to come from that place of humility, all right, where because I think, at least from my perspective, it's, well, it's all right to have a different perception. And, you know, I think in these times that we are approaching, the way how I perceive it is, how can we honor our individuality and stay in our sovereignty, where we are true to our truth, but in that recognize the greater truth of our common unity, and of our unity and of our interconnectedness.
Yeah.
And from that place, rather celebrate the different perspective, even if it's not the perspective you're going to live your life by. But have that place where we can connect with each other and see the strengths and the beauty and the power in that. And yeah, at least for me, this is a very constant reminder, right? When you go through life, because there's going to be a lot of things that I don't agree with and that I do not consent. And on a frequency level that, it's okay. I can recognize that, but that's not the frequency I choose to carry in my own being. Right. And I think that kind of discernment is just something very important. And, really embodying this is the journey of mastery here on earth, right? How do you honor yourself and your truth and share your individual light in your own way, while at the same time you honor others people's truth and, detach from the need to being right, that your way is the only way of it being.
Beautiful surprise. And as we are approaching the end of our conversation, I want you to share just a little bit more of the actual work that you're doing now. You mentioned you came out of a very powerful group session just 2 days ago. Share me more about this and what you do as Earth Guardian.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. And first of all, I want to share with everybody that is listening that we are all guardians of this earth, and that it's so important to remember that in whatever way that looks like. For some people, maybe it's more, physical, that they are planting new forests, and for other people, it's more, a nurturing mother that loves her children and creates a different future for our new generations. And for me, as my memories come back, I always knew that there's a lot of grid work and earth that I would be doing in inner earth. And it has been a very gradual but very accelerated process in this last year that a lot of my memories started to come back. And I started to remember, as I was sharing with you before a little bit, about my memories in Lemuria, where I, with a lot of other souls, we used to be the guardians of the 12 original stargates here on Earth. And the stargates, the importance of these stargates was really that these stargates in the right coherence and the right harmonic energy would allow the influx of the right energies. And when I say the right energies, I mean they were just connected to, all the different original star nations, such as the Lyrans, the Pleiadians, the Arcturians, the Sirians, Andromeda, Alpha Centaurus, and a lot of other places, and that there was a coherence energetic filter, meaning that only beings that would carry a light signature that was carrying a coherent vibration of love and of unity with intention to serve the greater good of the all could travel through these dimensional doorways. As these dimensional doorways and stargates, they're accessed through frequency, and it's the frequency in which they are orchestrated that will allow different frequency or different beings that carry different frequencies to come through them. And unfortunately, what happened is that there, a lot of these guardians and even myself, there was a lot of war going on here on Earth and in different places, and a lot of beings that have different interests, what they would like to do with Earth, and yeah, how they would like to use Earth for, and what energies they would want to bring in. So there has been a lot of distortion in the stargates. And the other day, on the 8/8, we opened Stargate, as I was communicated later by the Lyran Star Nation, that came through very strongly when we opened Stargate. And we were talking about before if it was a Stargate or a portal, but that's the way how I, through my channel, received the information. So that's the way I'm going to share it right now. And the importance of that is that we as a group created such a harmonic unity of love and heart-mind coherence that allowed a lot of light beings to come into Earth and anchor here, specifically in Salt Lake City in Utah, that otherwise wouldn't have access to directly come to this dimensional plane. And so that's really the importance of understanding stargates and portals, is that people open portals all the time, but they're just not aware. And that's then the problem, because then you have a lot of portals that are open that allow beings from a lower density come into this earth plane and bring, let's say, just frequencies to this earth that aren't really in support of the highest good of all and the evolution of all. So this is something I have been doing for a while, that a lot of times I close portals and I help souls that weren't able to transcend to pass to the other side. And this ties sort of in, and I just want to share this quickly, because Arcturus, where I'm from, we're very connected to technology, and sort of we very the protectors. So like that's why one of the things that I do is that I help people remove entities, but not only from people. And as I start more my journey on inner earth, I found that a lot of the ancient guardians of inner earth that used to guard this earth since millions and millions of years, they have been trapped. They have been, I don't find the right word right now, but they have been sort of imprisoned and controlled by, let's say, just darker forces to not invoke any energies with the words, we're using. And it's just that these kind of darker forces and entities have controlled these beings. And so through that, it allowed them to, create or harvest more energy from the population, as they have installed control, manipulation, and all these things that are going on. So one of the things how I have been on my journey instructed is just connecting a lot to inner earth, allowing my codes to be plasmated into inner earth, and to, as I'm an alchemist, help transmute and clear the frequency of anything that is not in coherence. And in combination to that, a lot of times I do, remove or help, spirits that weren't able to transcend. And I assist in removing lower dimensional darker entities that do not respect the law of free will and the sovereignty of very ancient beings that have been guarding this earth, so the true guardians of this earth can step back into the power and to really restore the sovereignty, right? So from a place of sovereignty, this earth can take the direction that it is meant to take. And so it has been beautiful, just that journey of remembering and being more of service in that way, to working with the grids to help that the land can sustain that new frequency which we are wanting to call in for the new earth that is here and now. This is the important thing to remember, that the new earth is here and now. It's not some distant place in the future.
It's not a distant place, it's not another planet that we need to fly to. It is all here and now. And you observe, or you made an observation last time, that even if I'm using different words for my being, does a lot of the work that you just described as well. I work deeply with the land, with overriding the distorted code and anchoring those very pure primordial frequency that we used to have here before. So a lot of what you do resonates deeply with me.
Yeah, and I would love you to share a little bit more, because I know you have a very high level of mastery when it comes to conducting frequencies. And I just want to acknowledge you for a moment, because I know you have been working with the grids for a really long time. And I just want to thank you for all this work. And I'm grateful that we can have this conversation about this, because a lot of people do not talk about this. And, I know that part of this work is very selfless, because it's just really showing up in service. And a lot of times you might not perceive, that was something that was so beautiful for me in that other day when I opened that Stargate with these other beings here, that the amount of beings that came and they thanked me, and they really took time with me. And I was just, my whole body was vibrating, and so much overflow of gratitude that I was receiving from so many beings, where I was like, wow. And sometimes, we do a lot of this work, but it's a very selfless work, as it's not like in the 3D directly that it always will show on a third dimensional level the changes that are being made from all the adjustments that that you make. And so I just wanted to acknowledge and honor and thank you, because I have seen quite a few amount of people that express light language with their hands, and with their voice, and in different ways, right, of how it can be expressed. And what I just want to share here, and this is for sure something I know that we talked about, that is for you the same way, and I just want to share with the audience, is that your body is the tool for discernment of truth. And the more you can hone and align your mental, emotional body with your soul higher self, with your physical body will be that instrument of truth. And when I
tuning fork.
Exactly, it's like that tuning fork. And that's why when I see you working, I can feel how you activate the codes as you work with your hands and move your hands.
Yes.
So I can know that truth on a deeper level beyond my mind, what you're saying. And I'm just sharing this as a reminder for people, when you listen to this and when you tap into people that speak light language, always trust that intuitive channel of your body, of how it feels like, and that knowing that comes through the body. Because even if I have different ways, I know for you as well, and we talked about this, that as you start downloading source code and start bringing in the real codes that you from your soul carry and remember, to bring them into the earth so they can restore the blueprint and clear out all the codes that aren't in that harmonic alignment. It's through the body when I know the activation is complete. It's through the body that I will know when the energy is completely transmuted. And so I just wanted to share that, and I'm sure you can confirm that, how important it is to have that your body clear, and clear discernment as a tool of guiding you in that journey of inner knowing, when you do things like that, and know that frequency and place when harmony is restored.
Yes. I think that we might need to expand that to another conversation someday, because it's such a wide topic. Any final words before we put an end to the conversation today?
Yes, I would just like to say that forever who chimed in and listened, thank you for your time. Thank you for your light and your presence here on Earth. And thank you for choosing to be here on Earth in this special moment in time, and to stand in your light and take your place as a co-creator of this new Earth that we are creating together. I love you very much.
Beautiful. Thank you, Yannick. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Until the next time, please follow, like, and subscribe. Bye-bye.